Welcome everyone to another episode of the EvoGen podcast. I'm here with Colby and Mayzie, and without further ado, let's dive right into it as always, right?
Yep, we're back on Zoom today. But today we're talking about this is going to be a Colby special episode because Colby does a lot of networking and he's completely scaled his company through networking. But basically, we're talking about building a network that pays you and why most people network wrong and get nothing from it. So I'm just going to turn it right over to Colby and have him start off.
Okay, awesome. Um, yeah, so like you said, most people go about networking wrong, and that's what I've run into so many times. I started out networking wrong as well. Everyone goes into a like situation or environment with a mindset of I need to find this many clients. I need to do this. I need to like find somebody who will pay me. Like they're looking for money and they're looking for like opportunities to get more money and to get customers and stuff like that, which is, I mean, yeah, great. Like you have an intention and it's good, but it is the wrong intention. That is not the way. Like if you do that, people recognize that. Like the second you walk into a room, people like feel that energy from you. And it's almost like most people are going to avoid it. I avoid it now personally because I just don't like to be around people who are just looking for themselves and just trying to take. Instead, the best way to go into a networking environment is by being open and being willing to give and provide as much value as possible. So, the number one thing I'm going to talk about on the podcast is probably value. Because one, you're going to be trying to provide value, and two, the way you know you want to connect with somebody and actually develop some kind of relationship with them is by having the similar core values.
Yeah. That makes sense. That actually brings me back to when I used to host like virtual networking events. I only did a couple of them, but I would have like a set framework and basically talk about how this is different than any other networking event that you've been to because you're not just going to collect business cards, you're making connections that can bring you more value in the future. And I can't remember the entire framework. I had it based off of my name, so it was like May and Z. I can't remember like like what each one was, but one of them was how can you provide value first? Like basically they would go into breakout rooms, talk about what they needed in their businesses and have like a focused conversation on what they each need and what they can each provide for each other. So then it automatically kind of took away that energy of like I'm just gonna go find clients, I'm just gonna go do this and bring people. Because I don't know. I've been to a lot of those too, where people are like coming up to me. They're like basically like forcing their business card into my hand. And I'm like, okay, cool. You're a little bit desperate, but that's okay.
Yeah, for sure. But one thing that I would say too, is that when I started getting into the real estate space, I wasn't really looking for anything. I was just looking to provide value. And if you provide value, whether if it's for a small amount of money or whether if it's for free, um, people will appreciate that and then they would feel almost inclined to give value back, right? So if I were to find, a deal for an investor, and that's my first ever deal. I'm sure they'll give me a ton of value back in return just because I brought them value first. So when you're starting off in a network event, just have the mindset of, okay, how can I provide value to get value in return?
Mm. Very true. I I think Eddie's also a great example of this because how many agents do you have in your network again?
I have around 638, 40, somewhere around there. Yeah.
You don't build a
Back
network
or
with
anything.
like that without being like somebody who people want to talk to and want to
Yeah.
help out. And so I think Eddie's also a terrific example of like what that looks like. I mean, and you don't go and find them at networking events. I mean, you call them straight up.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. And I get personal one-on-one with them. And then if they don't have anything for me, I just say, hey, like talk to me about what's going on your end, just with the market. I want to hear your story. Because
Mm.
that's what makes them feel seen and heard instead of, oh, this guy just wants deals out of me, right? And that's the
Mhm.
most important part. I just want to keep it very personal and close with everyone I talk to.
That's awesome. I love it.
I feel like Colby is a good example of that too, because you have some crazy connections in your phone recently, and these people are that you've idolized for so long, like they wouldn't really, I don't know, I feel like they're such big names that's like they wouldn't really like want to talk to some random 22-year-old. Like you stand out and you've made a name for yourself because you've provided value for so many other people that they're like, hey, I want this guy in my contacts. So
Yeah, it's been a huge blessing. So, I mean, I think it's just cool to be able to go up to people and do like become a part of what they're building. Like that's in the end, people want to feel like you are contributing to their overall like what their goals are and what they're working on. And so when you do have such a belief in somebody else and what they're building, it makes it that much easier, which is why it comes down to core values. Those people that I love, that I follow, and that I um, have like just followed so closely over the last like several years. The reason why is because our core values line up so well, and they've made their core values so abundantly clear over the last several years throughout like their books and their like meetings, whatever they're doing. And it's just come to the point where I've connected with them on that level that when you do meet them in person, it just becomes like you just know how to hit it off if you have similar like values and goals.
Sure, absolutely. And that comes with kind of the chemistry, right? The personality traits that you guys hold and possess. If you have someone who's very talkative and someone who really isn't and keeps everything close to himself, I don't think that that's going to mix very well, especially when working together. So yeah, you definitely have to know who are the right people that'll fit best for you and bouncing off of that at the end of the day.
Yeah.
for sure. What do you guys think like makes a difference in between like just transactional and intentional relationships?
Well, that's a
Mm.
good question. Intentional probably comes from purpose behind the relationship rather than, money in and money out of our pockets at the end of the day. I think to build something that's greater than just the monetary gain or anything to take. I think that's what makes it super powerful, and that's why communities are super big, and super powerful and life changing and life altering because you're around a influence of purpose, right? Rather than transactional intentions at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think that's something that can also be applied to like even just like normal client outreach because I do most of my networking over social media. I don't really call people or go to like in-person things because I have a network like all over the world now. But I like that's that's the energy that I try to bring into the conversations that I'm starting or like the content that I'm posting is like yeah, there is a bit of a transaction there. But like it's more intentional for me. Like I'm only wanting to work with people who are like me or wanting to succeed and like being able to celebrate those successes with them, I feel like is worth so much more to me than whatever the monetary cost was. And so I think like for anyone doing client outreach or whatever, and feeling like they just got to get the money, got to get the bag. Like I feel like that's the wrong mindset to go into. And people can feel it even if it's over the phone. Like people can feel your energy. So,
Mm.
Sure.
I agree. I think the biggest difference for me is it's like what's being created. And like so like for an example, our joint venture partner, he he's does like insanely amazing wealth management and helps millionaires become billionaires through proper wealth management. Now, that is perfect synergy between us and him. And so we're not just trying to like extract clients from each other, we're creating an ecosystem that benefits both clients. And in the end of the day, what we care most about is that our clients and our staff are taken care of. And because we line up on both of those values and are like there's so much synergy between the two products that we offer, it just that's what makes that relationship so strong and amazing. Same with another one of our joint venture partners that's a fractional CFO service. So when you have things like that that just match up very, very well, it helps. But then like the other day I had two people come into our office and they have a TV show called Real Deal America. There is some stuff maybe a little bit like we could line up on, but honestly, it's not like in the end of the day, it's not really like something that would like really line up with our company. But we could see the vision, we could see the value behind it. And I
Sure,
know people in my network who it would benefit a lot for. So I am able to then make those introductions for them and provide them value. And then eventually, whenever there is a purpose or ability, they'll think about me if needed at all. Which I mean, in the end, also, I don't really care if I don't get anything in return. That's fine because I also am an honest believer that whatever you put out, you'll eventually get back. It may not be through the same avenue though, but it will come back somehow.
for sure. Yeah, I think it's kind of like, what he was saying is kind of like what I was saying with the whole provide value or at least benefit or improve on one's idea. And then, obviously there should be maybe a potential opportunity that might come around. Same thing with like my business. Like I tell people, hey, keep me in mind, but if not, no worries. Or maybe sometimes if they pass up on a deal with me. Maybe they had something and then they just didn't think about me. I'm not gonna be all mad and you're not gonna hear that over the phone. I'm just gonna know that, hey, like this person forgot, no worries. Let's just continue building the rapport, right? And see where it
Mhm.
takes us. And sometimes some agents that I followed up with or some people that I follow up with, like they exit the real estate game and I'm not mad about it because you never know. I mean, there's a story of a retired agent when she retired, she actually had a client call her. And because we had a good rapport, she just basically redirected that potential seller over to me, and I got the deal done that way. So like, and she wasn't even looking for commission or check out of it. She just knew that I was looking for deals, and she just kept me in mind without anything in return, which I think is super cool. And because I provided that value for her in whatever way that may be, it came back in return. I mean, it's not going to happen all the time, but can happen sometimes. So,
Yeah. I also think back to this is kind of going back to like what Colby was saying about like being intentional to about the relationships that you're building in your partnership. I mean, I was just telling him before, I can't like say too much about it, but me and a mentor are expanding a certain area of our business and creating a community. And it's going to be like so many different people from different like areas of business, but all coming together for the same purpose. And I don't know. I just think there's just such a like a shift when you're intentional about something and you're not just like taking whatever is like coming to you. Like this is going to be invite only. Like it's going to be pretty lock and key. Like you can only get in if we tell you you can come in, basically. Which like maybe that sounds mean, but it's because we don't want any I guess sharks coming in or anything, but we want the energy to be like us hanging out and with just like a whole bunch of us, if that makes sense. I feel like I'm like kind of talking in circles. But anyways, we want to cultivate something like that, and we can't get that way if we're just like, okay, we want this person, or like you can come in, you can come in, you can come in, and like opening the doors for everyone.
right,
No,
makes sense. I,
100%.
I think the access should be very close and personal. Same thing, kind of like a friend group. Like I'm a big believer in the best friends that you'll have in your life will be in the smallest circles. It won't be in the biggest ones. So. the best relationships will be kept within people of four or three or five, max like eight, right? But yeah.
I
And
always
then of course you'll have like an outer circle of people that, you know, I guess you know of, like kind of like an acquaintance, but obviously you guys provide value for one another, but it's not as close and intimate compared to the eight or five people that,
Mhm.
you keep close.
I always said this when I was younger, like when I was like 13, 14 or whatever, like quality over quantity. Like I'd rather
Yes.
have a solid group of people that I can go to and they can have my back than go to everyone and no one has my back.
Right.
100%. Yeah. Well, even to like Maisie's point about that mastermind that you guys are gonna have. I mean, it's like a couple weeks after yours, I'm having a very similar one in Cabo with a bunch of people. It's called the Flow Mastermind. And
Hmm.
the entire purpose of it is to build relationships. We're not there to extract business from one another. We're there to build the relationship, the friendship that would lead to a joint venture,
Hmm.
which I want like exactly like 100% is like that should be our focus. And honestly, most of those people that I hang out with there, they're amazing people and I don't make any money with them, but I introduce them to people who help them exponentially.
Yeah. And again, like going back to what I said earlier, like I feel like seeing, I don't know, maybe this is just a me thing. I feel like it's probably you guys would agree, but maybe not everyone else would. Like seeing that success from other people, like seeing people achieve the results that they want and the dreams that they want because of something that you did for them. Like that's just so rewarding. Like I can't even put like a value on it.
Very true. I can agree.
And that type of behavior too is almost kind of addicting in a sense because you want to do more of that with others. You want to, like you want to get to know more people at the end of the day that you can provide more value to. Because I guess within the the purpose of it all, it just becomes more fulfilling because you have a purpose, because you have an intention, rather a bigger, greater than it being transactional at the end of the day.
Yeah, we talked about it a lot. Like purpose is so much like goes so much deeper than money. Like you can't really you can buy happiness like to an extent, but after that, like once you have the money, like what do you have? And I feel like that's your purpose or your the things that fulfill you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, what type of value or sorry, what valuable, oh my gosh, I can't, my brain's not working today. Um, but what type of value do you guys look for in other people, or what, I guess you guys are like pretty valuable people. So like what are you looking for in when you make a new connection?
Oh, I think that just talking about that, it's not going to be the same for everyone. So just keep that in mind for everyone who's listening. Um, for me personally, I just feel like if they're down to earth, if they're not, too over themselves, and, I feel like you can kind of tell when someone is envious or in a sense of wanting to maybe like cut you out of the piece of the pie, or maybe they want to be the superstar in the project or whatever the case may be, when at the end of the day everyone is the superstar, um in whatever it is that they want to fulfill, or um but yeah, I don't think it should be like a race. I think it should be more as a, okay, let's work as a team. We are a team. If it's without me, we're 50%. If it's without you, it's 50%. If it's together, we're 100%.
Hmm.
Um, so having people with that type of mindset is super important. And I feel like we can definitely leverage with one another on whatever our skill sets are at the end of the day.
Mm.
I feel like for me, I'm like I have a very hard time being around people who are like small-minded or just immediately go to like the negative. like conclusion or the negative questions, which I mean, we all do it to an extent, but the people that are just like consistently pessimistic, like I have a very hard time being around those types of people. So I think for me, what I'm looking for is someone who knows what they want and they're going to do whatever it takes to get it. Like it's obviously going to look different for every single person what we want and the path to get there. But as long as you're like taking action, like I feel like that makes someone a success. Like you're doing what you're supposed to be to get to where you're supposed, like where you want to be. And I feel like for me, like that's like one of the best things I could look for in a person, even if it's not like a business connection, like in real, like, or normal, like everyday life too. Like if
Mm.
I find someone and they're genuinely doing like what it is that they are passionate about, like that sticks out so much to me. I follow this guy on Instagram. I honestly don't really know his name. I just like came across him like on a reel one time and he's from Utah. I know he's from around Utah County, but he makes music and he is like really passionate about his story and at the beginning of the year was like I'm gonna do whatever it takes to make like this is my basically like this is my last shot to make my music career a real thing because he's been doing it for a while and hasn't really gotten where he wants to. And I was like, I love that. So I didn't even follow him for the music. I followed him because he's like literally taking everything into his own hands and designing his future. So
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I
And,
think,
oh
go
yeah,
ahead.
you were about to say something, Colby?
I was gonna say, I think the top three for me are first, that they create transparency. I want to know, they have to be honest. I want to know what's going on,
true.
and I want to like make sure that we're on the same page. The second is that they talk straight. I don't want them to beat around the bush. I want straight talk. I want to know what's on their mind, essentially. And I want them to say what they expect and what they want outcomes to look like and be. And then the third is I want them to keep commitments. If they keep commitments and they deliver well, then yeah, like those are my top three. Of course, there's more, but those are definitely my top three values that I look for.
I like that.
Absolutely. Well, one thing too that I would like to bounce off of Maisie's what she said is the mindset. I mean, the thing is
Mm.
that people's daily habits, what they tell themselves, even if it's jokingly, right? I mean, I know some people that they jokingly talk themselves down, and I'm like, man, like I don't want to be in that type of environment because then it'll
Mm-hmm.
be infected over to me, right? It's contagious. A lot of what people do, what people say, their behavior all plays into their lifestyle, their outcomes, and their results in their business and personal life.
Yeah.
For sure. All right. Well, my next question, I feel like Colby can answer this really well. And it's like why being in the room can change your speed completely. I mean, I don't know what numbers or anything I'm allowed to say, but Colby, like you're before you started the position that you're in, your company is doing pretty well, but now it's like scaled. I don't even know what the number is, how much it's scaled, what percentage, like a very high.
Yeah. We well, so in context, to put context to it, I mean, we we're going one route and then we decided to not go that route and we essentially replaced our entire business over the course of a year. So we essentially doubled the business, but we're firing all the business like that we had earlier. This like literally over the next couple months. And then we're on track to double that, even more than double that this next year. So coming into May 2028. But like you said, the only reason that that happened though is because of the networks, because of the rooms. Um, I mean, it's a you have to be in the right room at the right time, and that's super important. And you will be if you're paying attention and if you're like following like what we're saying. It like I just remember being in I was super stoked and excited when we finally got into the Russell Brunson's inner circle. That was like last July, and it was super exciting. We've always wanted to be in that room. And then I talked to someone in that room, and he said, I need to check out this flow mastermind. And I connected with he made an introduction to this individual who then connected me to who is now one of our joint venture partners, who I then met in person at the mastermind and we did stuff with, and now it's going crazy. Like that's one of our biggest um, verticals right now. And the whole reason that happened is because I went into the inner circle and I wasn't looking for any like clients or money or anything. This guy who I was talking to in the inner circle was thinking about becoming a client. He didn't end up becoming a client at all, which I'm fine with. But he made an introduction to somebody who then made another introduction to somebody who is like huge for us. And so like that just goes to show that it takes so many steps. It can most of the time take a ton of steps to get there, but you eventually will get there.
Hmm. That I also remember when you made that shift. I remember the exact text message because I it was around the time that we were running in like the same community. Um, and I remember you saying something along the lines of like, I'm leaving this for now to get into the room of people actually doing the thing instead of the people waiting on the outside of the thing. And I remember that
Mm.
really stuck with me because I was kind of like battling back and forth too about like whether I wanted to shift gears in my own world. And like, if, I mean, look at where we are now. Like, because of decisions that we've made to change up the rooms because what we were in was no longer like actually doing anything for us. Like we're in completely different spots.
100%. But to be clear, I mean, that room was cool. It was important
Yeah.
because it taught us a lot. Like, I learned a lot about networking from that being in that room.
Yeah,
And I just launched me way further into a better room.
exactly. I just feel like we kind of outgrew it, which is fine.
Hmm.
Like it's still, like I said, it's still a great place.
Yeah.
I've been there a couple times since I stopped going consistently, but it just like I guess that brings up another point of knowing when it's time to like change gears a little bit into what's gonna excel you or what's gonna keep holding you back.
Hmm. For sure.
Absolutely. There are some things though too. It's like you'll go to a network event, the same one, and like at some point you'll know everyone, and then it's okay to pivot out of that and then go into something better, right? Because everyone is here to grow, and sometimes you just graduate from that event, that networking event that you've been through since day one and stuff like
Hmm.
that, just
Mhm.
because you're advancing over to the better one. And then those people that you haven't met yet will provide even more value compared to you not having a clue and this is your first time being here at the event.
Yeah.
So
Well, like what I always like to say is you should never be the biggest fish in the room.
yeah.
If you're the biggest fish in the room, then there's a problem. You're not going to learn from somebody. You're not going to be able to grow from somebody. You always have to have bigger competition in order to grow further. And
Mhm.
most people are scared of that. And that's why they keep themselves in smaller rooms. And it keeps them small because they like to be the big fish, but there's nothing for them to go after. And there's no one for them to learn from if they're not in a bigger room.
Yeah. I think I've said this before, but I feel like or maybe not in this context, but I feel like that's another thing that just like separates Evogen and like what we're trying to create, especially with us, like all being students of the game, is that like there could be like bigger fish in the room than us. Like, and that's
Mhm.
fine. Like we're here to learn from it. We're not here to just be like the top dogs sitting at the top, like, okay, I've taught you, like I've done this, now I'm gonna teach you to do the same. Like
Yeah,
follow my
exactly.
footsteps.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the most important part. We're always looking for people who have more, who know more, and if we can create a community of people who are trying to get into it, who have already gone into it, and have been killing it. And people that are have been starting out and starting to get a good traction on whatever it is that they're doing. I think that's a great blend of just everything, right? I think we all need a good blend of everything sometimes.
Mhm.
So,
Mm,
For
yeah.
sure.
oh,
Right.
a question. I have a question. So, when it comes to networking events, I know it can be a little bit overwhelming with, if it's especially if it's a big networking event. Do you guys believe in something called pace when it comes to networking? Like, there are some people that want to get to know everyone in the room, and there's some people that want to selectively choose, and take their time when it comes to networking. I want your guys' thoughts on that.
Well, I think that comes back to the thing I was talking about with like friends, like quality over quantity. Like I could go to a networking event with like 50 people and meet every single one of them, and maybe I'll have some good connections. But if I'm going to a networking event with 50 people and I connect really deeply with five of them, like I'm probably gonna have more of a result than the 50. And also, who's following up with 50 people after a networking event? Not me. So,
Yeah, me neither.
No, no,
Sure.
no, never. Mm-mm. I agree. I agree with Maisie. I think that the more focused you are and you find, I think there's two ways to look at it. Um, from my perspective, if you're at a big networking event and you don't know anyone, get to know a couple people, just like shuffle through quite a few of them until you find somebody who just hits a nail on the head, like you love talking to them. And then once that conversation starts kind of like finishing up, ask them. Either pay attention to who's been talking to them every now and then. Like, I mean, I've been to so many networking events and people just come and pat each other on the shoulder if they know somebody. I do the same thing. Like if I walk into a room and I know Joe Schmo over there, I'm gonna go dap him up real quick. Well, even while if he's talking to somebody, I'll go dap him up and then I'll walk away. I'm paying attention if I'm talking to somebody and somebody does that to the person I'm talking to. I'm paying attention to who that person is and I'm going to go find them later because I know they know each other and I know that I got a good conversation out of this person. Likelihood I'll get a good conversation out of this next person. That's if I don't know anyone. If I do know somebody in the room, then I'm going to be going to that person who I know in the room and say, "Hey, who do you know? Who should I talk to?" And so many times they introduce me to the right person. I was just at a gala this last weekend in Salt Lake at the Edison House, and massive networking event, lots of people. And then I, my buddy, he has a massive business. He invited me, and he like was like, "Or just hang out." People start coming in, and like I'll introduce you to some people later throughout the night. I was like, "Okay, sounds great." Hung out, got some pizza, was like talking to some people. Came down eventually, and he was there, and he was talking to somebody. He's like, "Oh, Colby, we were like literally just barely talking about you. I want you to come over here and meet this guy." And we had a really good conversation and everything. And he's like, "I'll introduce you guys over text." And then another guy came up who was that guy's brother, and he's doing a whole different business and like just amazing networking. And then towards the end of the night, somebody came up to the two of us who were talking, and he was told by another person to talk to him, and then and then he talked to me, and he's like, "Guys, I was just wanting you guys to know I was just about to leave this networking event because we weren't getting any connections and anything that was interesting to us." And he's like, "You two were like the exact people we needed to meet tonight." And like,
Awesome.
it was like, there you go. Like, so many people go through the same thing, but those are at least my two strategies when I go to networking.
Sweet. Yeah, one thing too that I've heard from a notable real estate investor is that there's two questions that you ask at an event. What it is that you're looking for to the person that you're talking to, and
Mm,
how can I provide the best value possible for you? Whether if that's redirecting you to somebody else because I do not have that expertise whatsoever. But yeah, that's kind of the two big things that you have to keep in mind is what are they looking for when they approach you and what it is that you can provide value on, whether you personally can provide value or if you can direct it over to someone else at the end of the day.
that's good.
yeah. I also really like Colby's strategy as well because people love to talk about themselves and they love to tell stories. So like if you name drop someone that they know, like you're gonna get a good conversation about like how this person met this person and like all the other connections from there, like how everything's kind of going from everything because they're gonna want to talk about it.
Hmm. I
For
love
sure.
it.
And then I guess bring it back to what Eddie said, like when when you are asking those questions or like being really intentional, like if someone doesn't align with what, like if you can't provide them what they need or they can't provide you what you need and redirecting them, like that's just avoiding wasting other people's time. Like that's just keeping
Mm.
everything moving at a good speed. Like, yeah, you guys could still be friends, hit each other up like here and there, but at the end of the day, like it's kind of just like a bad connection if you guys can't really do anything for each other or with each other. Like I think back to one of the
Yeah.
networking events that I hosted. It was the first one that I ever did in person, and there was someone that I met there, and really nice guy, but it just wasn't something like he asked like what he could provide for me, and I'm like, honestly, like I don't know. And I wasn't like selective, like, okay, well, I could actually redirect you to this person, or I wasn't like thinking that way. I kind of just was like, okay, cool, like whatever, like didn't really think too much about it. And they reached back out to me a couple of times and I was just like, actually, like this isn't really supportive for either of us. And it would have been more supportive if I had just been like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna redirect you to this person because they can actually provide you the resources that you need and go from there from the beginning. So it wasn't like, so what can I do to help you now? Like a couple
Right.
weeks later, and I'm like, well, actually, I don't know.
Yeah.
There, it's a mistake that I've made as well, is just to get to know everyone in the room. And there are some contacts that I have to this day that are just completely dead. Just because, number one, it's either I have no time to follow up with them, or number two, it's like they just never saw me as the valuable resource. Um, and that's okay. You're not supposed to be the main person to go to for everyone. But yeah, I think it's super interesting, and that's why being very selective when it comes to networking is a very key point.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, that's all I've got. I don't know if you guys have anything else to add.
I don't think so.
I
I
don't
feel
think
like
so either.
we covered a lot. Okay. Well, we're going to have some events soon. We don't have dates locked in yet. Colby just had his AI event and now he's creating something absolutely crazy. So really excited to see that. And you guys should all be sitting on the edge of your seats because it is going to be really cool. Well, Colby and Eddie and one of the people who attended the events. Um, and yeah, that's all I've got for now. We'll be posting on socials soon with our next events and yeah.
Stay tuned, guys. Big things coming up.
All right.